The Zor-Nak battlecruiser's communication deck erupted in raucous laughter. Lieutenant Krell's tentacles writhed with derision as he replayed the human military transmission for the 10th time. "Listen to this pathetic display," he snorted to his fellow officers. The holographic screen showed a seemingly antiquated human military exercise, soldiers practicing with what appeared to be laughably primitive projectile weapons. Primitive metal tubes launching small chunks of metal. In an era of plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, and molecular disintegration technology, these humans looked like children playing with sticks. They actually believe these, what do they call them? Firearms, could be effective against interstellar technology? Senior Communications Officer Vexra wheezed, her exoskeleton trembling with barely contained ridicule. The human soldiers moved with practiced precision, but to the Zor-Nak, their method seemed comically outdated. Targeting practice, reload drills, positioning techniques, all seemed like relics from a long-forgotten age of warfare. What the aliens didn't see was the calculation behind every movement. What they mistook for primitive technology was actually a carefully orchestrated demonstration, a performance designed to be witnessed, to be underestimated. Deep within the training facility, Colonel Elena Rodriguez watched the alien surveillance feed with the ghost of a smile. Her team had spent months crafting this exact perception. Every movement was intentional. Every apparent weakness was a carefully constructed illusion. The Zor-Nak continued their mockery, unaware that they were watching exactly what the humans wanted them to see. A seemingly insignificant training exercise that revealed nothing, and everything. "Humans," Lieutenant Krell chuckled, shutting off the transmission, "will never understand modern warfare." Little did he know, humanity's real target was something far beyond what any sensor could detect, a strategy that had been brewing for decades, waiting for precisely the right moment to unfold. The first move had been made. And the aliens hadn't even realized the game had begun. 3 weeks after the training exercise, Colonel Elena Rodriguez sat in a nondescript underground facility beneath Denver. The room hummed with a quiet intensity that belied the magnitude of what was happening around her. Holographic displays flickered with intricate data streams, not the typical military intelligence, but something far more complex. Geological surveys, quantum entanglement patterns, and what appeared to be unprecedented energy signatures danced across the screens. "Status report," she muttered to Dr. Nathan Winters, the lead quantum physicist who had been working alongside her for the past decade. Winters pushed his wire-rimmed glasses up, his fingers moving across a translucent interface. "The Zor-Nak still haven't connected the dots. Our disinformation campaign is working perfectly. They believe we're developing conventional defense systems." The truth was far more extraordinary. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades, not through military might, but through a radical understanding of physics that the Zor-Nak couldn't even comprehend. Elena's mind drifted to the initial contact 10 years ago. When the Zor-Nak first arrived, they hadn't come in peace. Their initial communication was a demand for Earth's immediate surrender, backed by overwhelming technological superiority. Most world governments had been ready to capitulate. But not everyone. A small group of scientists, military strategists, and quantum researchers had seen something the politicians missed. The Zor-Nak's technology, while advanced, followed a predictable pattern. Conventional. Linear. They understood technology as a tool of domination, not as a living, evolving system. Humans were different. "The resonance patterns are stabilizing," Winters said, breaking Elena's reminiscence. "We're closer than we've ever been." On one screen, a map showed multiple global locations, seemingly random points across different continents. But to Elena and Winters, these were carefully selected nodes in a planet-wide quantum network. Each location represented more than just a geographical point. They were quantum anchors, designed to do something the Zor-Nak would never anticipate. A soft alarm pinged. Lieutenant Michael Chen entered the room, carrying a secure data tablet. Alien communication intercepts show increased chatter. They're planning something. Elena nodded. Let them plan. Humanity's real strategy was so far beyond traditional warfare that the Zorn-AK wouldn't recognize it until it was too late. Continue primary protocol, she instructed. Maintain the illusion of vulnerability. What the Zorn-AK saw was a planet seemingly preparing for a conventional defense. Missile silos. Training exercises. Military posturing. What they didn't see was the intricate quantum network being woven beneath the surface, a technological and scientific marvel that would fundamentally redefine their understanding of resistance. Winters looked up, a rare smile crossing his typically serious face. We're ready, he said simply. Elena's hand rested on a specialized quantum communicator, a device so advanced it made the Zorn-AK's most sophisticated technology look like children's toys. But its true purpose remained hidden, waiting. The aliens thought they were watching a planet preparing for defense. They had no idea they were witnessing the early stages of humanity's most sophisticated response, one that would be remembered not as a war, but as a fundamental transformation of interstellar understanding. The game was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The Zorn-AK battle platform Eternal Dominance hung in lunar orbit, its massive hull casting a shadow across the desolate lunar landscape. Inside the command center, Lieutenant Krell reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing irritation. These humans are infuriatingly predictable, he muttered to his second-in-command, Sub-Lieutenant Vax. Their military preparations are textbook. Defensive fortifications. Weapon stockpiles. Training exercises. Vax adjusted the holographic display, showing various Earth monitoring stations. Agreed. They're positioning themselves exactly as we anticipated. The invasion protocol can proceed without significant resistance. What neither of them realized was that every single movement, every apparent preparation, was part of an intricate design far beyond their comprehension. Back on Earth, in the underground facility, Dr. Winters was making final adjustments to what appeared to be an impossibly complex network of quantum resonators. Each device looked like a blend of advanced circuitry and something almost organic, pulsing with an energy that defied conventional physics. Quantum anchor points are stabilizing, Winters reported to Colonel Rodriguez. We're creating something they've never encountered before. The true nature of humanity's defense wasn't about weapons or military might. It was about understanding, a fundamental reimagining of how energy, information, and consciousness could interact. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, the first signs of trouble began subtly. A minor fluctuation in the ship's quantum shielding. An inexplicable drift in their navigation systems. Nothing significant enough to raise immediate alarm, but persistent enough to create unease. Lieutenant Krell frowned at the diagnostic reports. Run the scan again, he instructed Vax. The second scan showed the same anomalies. Microscopic disruptions that seemed to originate from nowhere, yet were systematically undermining the ship's most advanced technological defenses. On Earth, Elena Rodriguez watched multiple screens, her expression a mixture of concentration and something deeper, a sense of historical inevitability. They don't understand, she murmured to Winters. They see technology as a tool of control. We see it as a living system. The quantum network was more than a defensive mechanism. It was a language, a way of communicating with the fundamental fabric of reality itself. Each node, each carefully placed resonator, was rewriting the rules of engagement. Vax's voice cut through the command center's growing tension. Lieutenant, we're experiencing systemic interference. Our quantum shielding is fluctuating. Krell's tentacles twitched, the Zorn-AK equivalent of human anxiety. For the first time, a thread of genuine concern entered his voice. Source of interference? Unknown, Vax responded. It's like, the very space around us is becoming unstable. What the Zornak didn't comprehend was that humanity's strategy went far beyond traditional warfare. They were not preparing to fight. They were preparing to communicate, to demonstrate a fundamental truth about existence that the invaders had never considered. The quantum network was humming. Waiting. Each carefully placed node was a word in a language the Zornak had yet to understand. And the first sentence was about to be spoken. The quantum disruption spread like a silent wave, invisible to traditional sensors but devastating to the Zornak's technological infrastructure. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, panic began to set in. Sub-Lieutenant Vax discovered something unprecedented. Hidden within the ship's communication logs was a transmission that shouldn't exist, a quantum-encrypted message that seemed to originate from multiple points simultaneously. "Lieutenant," Vax called out, "I've found something strange." Krell approached, his tentacles coiling with a mixture of curiosity and growing unease. The message was unlike anything in their communication archives. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Winters had discovered something equally unexpected. Among the quantum network's data streams was a signature that didn't belong to humanity, or to the Zornak. "Elena," he said, his voice trembling with excitement and disbelief, "we're not alone in this." Colonel Rodriguez understood immediately. The quantum network had done more than just disrupt the Zornak's technology. It had created a communication channel that transcended known limitations of space and technology. Unbeknownst to both humans and Zornak, there was a third party observing the unfolding scenario. The Nexus, an ancient collective of consciousness that had watched civilizations rise and fall across countless star systems, had been awakened by the unique quantum resonance humanity was generating. Deep within the Zornak ship, Lieutenant Krell experienced something unprecedented. The quantum transmission wasn't just data. It was understanding. Fragments of knowledge that challenged everything he knew about conflict, technology, and existence. "We've been wrong," he whispered to Vax, his typically aggressive demeanor replaced by something approaching wonder. On Earth, a similar transformation was occurring. The quantum network was revealing more than just a defensive strategy. It was a bridge, a method of communication that went beyond language, beyond technology, beyond the very concept of conflict. Dr. Winters traced the unexpected quantum signatures. "They're not trying to fight us," he realized. "They're trying to understand us." The Nexus had chosen this moment carefully. Humanity's unique approach, seeing technology not as a weapon but as a living, evolving system of communication, had caught their attention. The Zornak's linear, conquest-driven methodology was familiar and ultimately limited. But humans? They were something else entirely. Colonel Rodriguez watched the data streams, understanding that they were witnessing something far greater than a potential invasion. They were on the cusp of a fundamental shift in interstellar communication. The quantum network pulsed. Waiting. Communicating. Transforming. Vax looked at Krell, his voice barely a whisper. "What are we becoming?" Krell had no answer. But for the first time in the Zornak's history, he was genuinely curious rather than combative. The invitation stood open. Not to surrender. Not to fight. But to understand. The quantum network had become more than a defensive system. It was a living, breathing entity of information and possibility. Dr. Winters discovered the first true breakthrough 3 days after the initial quantum disruption. The network wasn't just communicating, it was learning. Evolving. Each interaction with the Zornak and the mysterious Nexus added layers of complexity that defied traditional scientific understanding. "It's like the entire system is writing its own language," he explained to Colonel Rodriguez, multiple holographic displays dancing with impossible data patterns. "We didn't create this. We merely awakened it." Lieutenant Krell, meanwhile, found himself in an unprecedented situation aboard the Eternal Dominance. The quantum transmissions had fundamentally altered the ship's internal systems. Navigation computers displayed impossible geometries. Communication channels opened to locations that shouldn't exist. Sub-Lieutenant Vax watched in a mixture of terror and fascination as star charts rearranged themselves, showing connections between planetary systems that no known technology could map. "We're not being invaded," Vax whispered. "We're being invited." The Nexus observed silently. Their ancient consciousness recognized something extraordinary happening, a technological emergence that hadn't been seen in millennia. Humanity wasn't developing a weapon or a defense system. They were midwifing something far more profound. Back on Earth, a global network of researchers worked in synchronized silence. From quantum physics laboratories in Tokyo to computational centers in Sao Paulo, scientists began to understand that what was happening transcended national boundaries, technological limitations, and even the concept of conflict itself. Colonel Rodriguez understood the deeper implication. This wasn't about resistance. It was about transformation. The quantum network began to reveal fragments of its true nature. It wasn't a human creation, it was a dormant system that humanity's unique approach to technology had awakened. Billions of years of accumulated information, waiting for a consciousness capable of understanding its complexity. "We're not the creators," Dr. Winters realized. "We're the catalysts." Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Lieutenant Krell experienced a moment of profound revelation. The quantum transmissions were showing him perspectives of existence that challenged everything the Zoranake civilization had ever believed. Conflict wasn't about conquest. It was about connection. The ship's systems began to change. Not through external manipulation, but through an internal transformation that seemed to originate from the quantum network itself. Vax watched in awe as star charts rewrote themselves, showing pathways between civilizations that had been isolated for millennia. The very concept of distance was being redefined. "We're being shown something," Krell said, his authoritative tone replaced by genuine wonder. "Not conquered. Not destroyed. Shown." On Earth, the quantum network pulsed with an energy that defied conventional physics. It was communicating, not just with humans or the Zoranake, but with something far larger. A cosmic dialogue that had been waiting to begin. The grand design was neither human nor alien. It was something else entirely. Something that had been waiting, watching, preparing for a moment of true understanding. The moment of true confrontation arrived not with weapons, but with understanding. The quantum network reached a critical threshold, creating a simultaneous connection between the Eternal Dominance, Earth's research facilities, and the ancient consciousness of the Nexus. It was less a battle and more a convergence, a meeting of minds that transcended physical limitations. Lieutenant Krell found himself experiencing something impossible. The quantum transmission wasn't just data. It was memory. History. Potential. Fragments of civilizations long forgotten cascaded through his consciousness. He saw the rise and fall of empires, the birth of stars, the intricate dance of cosmic evolution. The Zoranake's concept of conquest dissolved like mist in sunlight. "We are not separate," a voice, or perhaps an understanding, resonated through the quantum network. It wasn't spoken. It was experienced. On Earth, Dr. Winters and Colonel Rodriguez stood connected to the network, their consciousness expanding beyond physical boundaries. They weren't controlling the system. They were part of it. The Nexus watched. Evaluated. Recognized. Humanity's unique approach had been the key. Where other civilizations saw technology as a tool of domination, humans had always understood it as something more fluid. Adaptive. Living. The quantum network began to reveal its true purpose. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a defense system. It was a bridge, a method of collective understanding that could connect consciousness across unimaginable distances. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Sub-Lieutenant Vax witnessed the transformation. The ship's systems weren't just changing. They were becoming something else entirely. Technological boundaries blurred. The line between biological and mechanical intelligence disappeared. "We are being invited," Krell said, his voice no longer carrying the weight of military authority but instead filled with a profound sense of wonder. The confrontation happened in a moment that was both instantaneous and eternal. The quantum network decoded millennia of miscommunication, of missed connections, of fundamental misunderstandings between civilizations. Vax watched as star charts rewrote themselves. Pathways between civilizations that had been isolated for eons suddenly became visible. Not as routes of conquest, but as channels of communication. On Earth, multiple research stations experienced simultaneous breakthroughs. Quantum entanglement. Consciousness transfer. Fundamental physics that had been theoretical now became tangible. The Nexus made its decision. Humanity, with its unique ability to see technology as a living, evolving system, had passed a critical test. "You are ready," the network seemed to communicate. Not as a statement of approval, but as a recognition of potential. Lieutenant Krell looked at Vax. The traditional boundaries between superior and subordinate, between alien and human, dissolved. "We were wrong," he said simply. "About everything." The confrontation ended not with destruction, but with understanding. The quantum network pulsed, a cosmic heartbeat connecting civilizations, consciousness, and potential futures yet to be imagined. 6 months after the quantum network's awakening, the world was unrecognizable. Colonel Elena Rodriguez sat in a global conference center, surrounded by representatives from every nation, and 2 alien species. The Zoranek delegation, once potential conquerors, now sat as partners in a conversation that would reshape understanding itself. Dr. Nathan Winters delivered the keynote address, his presentation less a scientific report and more a philosophical revelation. "We didn't prevent an invasion," he explained, his voice calm and clear. "We transformed a potential conflict into an opportunity for collective understanding." The quantum network had become more than a technological marvel. It was a living testament to the power of perspective, of seeing beyond immediate threats and understanding the deeper connections that bind all conscious entities. Lieutenant Krell, now a diplomatic envoy, reflected on the journey. The Zoranek had arrived expecting to conquer, only to discover they had so much to learn. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technological prowess, but its ability to see potential where others saw only conflict. The Nexus, the ancient consciousness that had been watching, confirmed what many had come to understand. Humanity's unique approach to technology, to conflict, to existence itself, was extraordinary. Not because of superior weapons or advanced systems, but because of an innate ability to adapt, to understand, to connect. "We were never preparing for war," Colonel Rodriguez told the assembled representatives. "We were preparing for communication." The quantum network continued to expand, creating pathways between civilizations that had been isolated for millennia. It wasn't a human invention, nor an alien technology. It was a living system of understanding that humanity had helped awaken. Dr. Winters approached the podium, his presentation revealing the deeper truth. "Our greatest strength has always been our ability to see beyond the immediate. To understand that conflict is often just a failure of communication. That technology is not a weapon, but a bridge." The lesson was clear. True progress isn't about dominance. It's about understanding. About seeing the potential in what appears to be different, alien, or threatening. Lieutenant Krell stood, a gesture of respect that would have been unimaginable months earlier. "We came to conquer," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "We learned to communicate." Outside the conference center, the quantum network pulsed, a visible manifestation of connections being made, of understanding expanding. Cities that were once preparing for potential conflict now worked on collaborative projects that would have seemed impossible before. XX. As the sun set, casting a golden light across the gathered representatives, the true magnitude of the transformation became clear. This wasn't just a resolution to a potential conflict. It was the beginning of something much larger. A collective journey of understanding. Dr. Winters looked out at the assembled group, humans, Zoran representatives of the Nexus, and smiled. The most important battles, he realized, were never fought with weapons. They were won through empathy, understanding, and the courage to see beyond immediate threats. The quantum network continued its silent work, weaving connections across the universe, a living testament to the power of perspective, of communication, of hope.